Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Moe, Swedish Whiskey Girl, and today I'm going to try 8 whiskies. So I'm going to try my best to keep it quite short and sweet because I know you're all busy people and you have other things to do. But I'm going to try the 2022 special releases from Diageo that I'm lucky enough to have been gifted some samples from, and I'm gonna have a nose of them all, have a little taste of them all, give you my opinion and tell you which ones I like the best. Probably we'll see what I think of them because I haven't really tried them properly, so see if there's one standout or if there's maybe 2 or 3, we'll see. What I'm thinking is I'm going to try them in the order of Cardhu, Singleton, Cameronbidge, Oban, Clynelish, Mortlach, Talisker and Lagavulin, and chat a little bit about them as I pick them up. Probably have a nose through them all first and then a little taste just so we don't overwhelm our palate straight away. But yes, let's start. So first up is the little Cardhu that has this little lovely bird on the label. The labels are beautiful. They've worked with an illustrator for these and the colours are just so nice. The price might not be as nice, but they look great. Cardhu 16, this is a 58% ABV, this one. Oh, actually realised I have this, which will tell me a little bit more about them, which I think is quite good, because some of them have quite funky cask makeups. So let's have a look. So that's the wrong one. So this Cardhu, like I said, 16 years old and it's been finished in Jamaican rum casks. So let's have a little look. There's some sort of a soft, sweet pineapple vibe going on. Yeah, that is my first reaction to that one. Let's have a look at the Singleton, which is this 15-year-old. It is bottled at 54.2% ABV, and it's this lovely siren. It's a 15-year-old, just said that, didn't I? And it spent 8 years in a wine cask. I believe that's a red wine. So let's have a little nose of that. Ooh, what's this? Some sort of cereal. Something very distinct, like floral, biscuity, like muesli, fruity muesli, I think. Let's just do a little quick run through them and then we'll see what we end up with. Just finding the Cameronbidge, which is a 26-year-old. It has a lovely knight and a horse on the front and it's bottled at 56.2%. Very excited about this because you know I love a single grain. Let's see. I was gonna guess that this is just experiment. Believe so. Let's have a nose. It's a single grain on the nose, like toffee, almost a toffee apple. I actually had my first toffee apple the other day, so maybe that's why. Yeah, toffee and vanilla ice cream toffee apple is what this is on the nose for me. Moving on to Oban, which sits at 47.1%, aged 10 years, and it has a lovely rabbit on the front. So let's see, here we go. Maturation in refill and New American Oak, then double maturation in ex-sherry and Amontillado seasoned casks. Have a little look at that. Oh, it's honey. It's fresh honey. That first nose, overwhelmingly, like you know when you open a jar of honey, that's the one. It's so much honey. You know when you just get something and you're like, I know what that is, and then your brain actually gives you the answer. that's just honey. I don't know what else to say. That's so much honey. Cool, we got it, honey. Let's move on. Yeah, okay, cool. Clynelish, which has this, I think it's a snow leopard, maybe. 12 years old, 58.5% ABV. Let's see my little booklets. I know this isn't the best thing to watch, me looking through a booklet, but I just, after my cold, I just can't keep any information inside my head. Cool. Let's see here. Secondary maturation in Pedro Jimenez and Oloroso casks. Cool. Let's have a little nose of that. Very Clynelish-y, very kind of waxy. Waxy with a bit of sherry. And something floral or grassy, but not fresh grass, a bit older grass. I can feel at this stage, which is why I'm nosing my hand, that my nose is starting to get a bit overwhelmed, which is why I lined them up in this order to try and get the more powerful ones at the end. But yeah, you can really feel it in my nose because it almost like it goes a bit cold. But yes, next up we have Mortlach, and this is my favourite label, I think. Yeah, I think so. And the Mortlach, oh yeah, it's a combination of virgin oak, tawny port and, this has been a little typo. So I was like, what's port and? But it's port and, but there's no space in between. So a combination of virgin oak, tawny port, and red muscat wine. Interesting combination. Let's have a nose. I don't know if I showed you, but it's this lovely owl. That's what I like. It looks very kind of blood moon esque. It's 47.8% ABV as well. And we've just played a game called Ori and something with the wisps. And the villain in that is an owl that looks like just like that. Oh, quite fruity. Fruity, a bit nature-esque, but like jungle-y in a way. And almost a bit of tropical fruit. Or berries. It smells like a good dessert that's not too sweet. Next up we have another really good label, Talisker. It has this lovely glowing jellyfish, and it's 11 years old, 55.1% ABV. And I don't know if I said, but the Mortlach is a non-age statement prior to this. And the Talisker, first fill ex-bourbon. Yep, cool. I'll probably like this one then. If you've ever been to like a really old building, often like if you go to a museum when there's like, look how people lived back in the day, and you walk into this building which is like not heated or anything, it's just wood and maybe an earthen floor, and there's like a little bit of dust in the air, and you can smell this combination of like earth floor, old wood and dust. That doesn't sound very good as a tasting note, does it? But it's that, when you walk into it you get this lovely kind of almost comfortable, homely feel. Maybe it's just because I love an attic. But it's that alongside something sweeter. And this is also something really familiar, which I can't really pinpoint. I'm trying to be like, is it citrus? Is it... It's not honey this time. But some sort of grain, like almost like sweet barley, orange zest, and something baked, like baked apple. Intriguing nose. Besides the grain whiskey, I think this is probably my favourite on the nose so far. And then next up, last, before we're tasting, is the Lagavulin's 12-year-old, 57.3% ABV. And let's check what this is. It is virgin oak and our smokiest reserves, peaty casks. Interesting. They use peated casks for peated whiskey. Oh, it is peaty. It's this kind of oily peat. Oily peat meets ashy smoke on the nose. Definitely straight away, I feel like the Lagavulin feels a bit smokier than they usually do. I don't know if it's just me today, but I don't think I usually get that much smoke on Lagavulin. But I'm also trying to figure out if they mean peated casks, as in like they've used previously cask that has been peated, like it could just be their old cask that they've reused, or if they've just taken the peatiest stock that they have. If you know, let me know in the comments below. But yes, now we're gonna taste them all and see if I can remember anything. But I also have some water here. I have some water if I need to add it, but we're gonna try and do this fairly quickly and then a little rundown. Starting with the Cardhu. Quite bitter at the moment, quite woody bitter. And there's like a sweetness underneath. I wonder if I should just add a few drops of water on my little trusty lark fire water, just to see if it's just a bit hot, because it feels like that could be it. So I'm gonna just add a little bit of water. The nose is still pretty much where I remember it from when I just nosed it. That's a bit nicer. Now you get more of a sweetness coming out, but the biggest flavour of it is wood. So it's wood surrounded by a bit of almost like glazed pineapple. A bit of kind of sponge cake. Okay, it reminds me of a woody cupcake, this one. I'm gonna have some water just to clear my mouth out. Yeah, a tad too bitter for me, I would say. I usually love Cardhu because it's so fruity, and I think I would have wanted more of the fruit coming out. Let's go for another sip of water because these are quite strong. And on to the Singleton. Ooh. The nose on this one is really interesting. Getting kind of almost like some sort of baked toffee from it. This one's not as woody. It almost has, like the texture of it is completely different. It's almost a bit sticky, like almost like a watered down syrup. And the flavour as well is quite dark and quite syrupy, toffee, almost like, it's like almost like a coffee dessert. But don't know if it's just the alcohol spice that reminds me about the coffee. It's a lovely nose, this. A really lovely nose. A bit grassy. Grassiness is probably the main character, and then the kind of treacly syrup note around it. Well, the seagulls are screaming. Just surrounds it. I'm quite intrigued by that. It's not what I was expecting. And then on to Cameronbidge. High expectations since I really like the nose. I mean, grain whiskies are my spirit animal. I just love a grain whiskey. This one I'm actually going to add a little bit of water to because it is a little bit hot, but you can still get those nice characters underneath it. So I think, theoretically, just adding a bit of water to this takes a little bit of the character on the nose, but hopefully on the palate. We'll have a little look. A much nicer balance on the palate. But it still has. So this would be a good grain whiskey for someone who likes a bit of a tannin kick, a little bit of wood, as well as those grain whiskey characters like vanilla and like toffee. It's not as smooth and like clean and like unoffensive as some grain whiskies are. They are just like, you could just drink so much of them, almost like they're just like a liqueur or something. But this one definitely has a little bit more bite because of that higher ABV, even with adding a bit of water. Maybe I can bring it down even more, but just as this a quick experiment, yeah, so I think it's a little bit more robust than maybe grain whiskies that are old but sit at 40 or 43. On to Oban, we're going to have a little sip of water. This was the honey one, wasn't it? Yep, so much honey. Definitely does have a bit of that honey character on the palate, but it has, it has something like here that is so familiar, but I can't put my finger on what it is. It's something like nature derived, but it has, I think it's like something I've never really found in a whiskey before. It's very unique and it's throwing me. But also because I feel like I've tasted this recently. It must be some sort of like vegetable or something, but it's quite sweet, which I think might be why I can't place it. Or is it just honey, but alcoholic honey? Oh, that annoys me, always. If you've tried this one, let me know your thoughts and your notes, because I'm gonna stay awake all night to think about this. Nice though, I like it, and especially because it has something different, something quite unique to it. I would say it's almost has a cognac by character to it, which makes it, well, I don't know, because like I can only say what I like, but if you're someone who likes a proper classic Scotch whiskey, which is like Scotch, then maybe this isn't for you because it is different. But if you're someone who likes both Armagnac, cognac, brandy, whiskey, maybe this is one that's like towards being in between. So yeah, I was talking, I didn't notice that my camera died, but we are back. And we're gonna move on from the Oban, because it's gonna be a really long video. And Clynelish. It's definitely a Clynelish. It just has that waxiness to it that reads more like a bit of peat in this, but still that kind of waxiness. And it's hard to look past it, so I am going to add some water because I feel it's a little bit hot. Which is quite interesting when you're trying things like this that are pretty much the same, like between like 50, 57-ish. That some of them are so drinkable at that strength, and some of them, personally, I want to add some water to. More of a biscuity, singy, almost zesty note coming through. Yeah, like a citrus zesty biscuit note, like almost a bit grass as well. Yeah, a bit of spice, so it's like almost a bit of cloves in there. Tastes quite traditional, I'd say, but with a little bit of a zing to it. Yeah. Interesting. I think we'll leave it at that and see. Might come back to it. Let's move on to the Mortlach. Still got 3 to go, including this one. This feels dark. Feels a bit like Dunnage Warehouse, but also quite fruity. But without being, like the sense of it is fruity, but I don't know what I would say kind of fruitiness is. Probably something quite mild, like a plum. Or a grape. And it has something like an orange note in the middle. The texture of the whiskey is quite like satisfying because it's quite thick. Also has almost a tone of a chocolate tone. It was like toasted orange, and then or is it toasted chocolate? I'm just trying to figure out what belongs to what. I know Mortlach often is described as a meaty whiskey, but I feel like it's just a good word to describe the spirit. I also think it suits, because this was the one with the red muscat and whatever the other thing was, Tawny Port, and it suits it really well. It's an interesting whiskey. I'd love to have this on my shelves. An after dinner whiskey. And now that we're in to the peat, I'm going to have water in between just so I can actually differentiate between these. Good thing I'm having lunch after this. Filming these are always tricky because I don't want to do it after I've just eaten because that messes with your palate. But having them before lunch means that my cheeks go a bit red because I can definitely start to feel it. Talisker, we're on now. Such a nice nose. You get that black pepperiness from Talisker. And an ashy smoke, I would say. But it's very soft around the edges. Like, I wouldn't say the pepperiness and the smoke is subtle. It's definitely there. But like, let's see if we can do this. So it feels like the flavour just kind of builds. But right where you think is going to be a peak, it softens out, like you've just sandpapered off the edges. It does have a bit of sweetness to it. And a bit of an appleiness. But a really subtle fruitiness, I would say. But almost like when you have like balsamic vinegar and black pepper and strawberries. It's like a mix of things that It makes it really interesting, but I think the ashy smoke is at the centre of it all for me today. And our final one is Lagavulin. So interesting because the smoke is so different to the Talisker. The Talisker is such an inoffensive smoke, I would say. Is that the word? But the Lagavulin is so much more West Coast in a way. Very West Coast on the palate. It's like sitting in a lighthouse with ropes and tar and seaweed and everything that comes with it. It has such a, I don't know what you would say, like a niche character. Like if you opened a storybook on this page and you just saw the lighthouse, the waves, quite stormy seas, it's seaweed, that's just kind of classic storybook image is what I'm getting from the Lagavulin. I don't even need to have a second sip because that's it. It paints you a picture. And it lingers, like the finish is staying with me, and it just feels like an old guy, an old man who's watching the lighthouse, has a big rugged beard and maybe smokes a pipe. Yeah, that's all I can say about that. But let's see, what's our favourites? I think the ones that stood out to me were, I liked the Talisker. I think I quite like them all actually, looking back at them. I'm going to have a re-sip of the Cardhu, just because it was so odd. That has opened up now with the water, to be honest. It has more of a fruity character, a bit of a sweetness, that kind of Speyside-y character I'd say, but more orange. Usually Speyside for me is a bit blue-green, more orange, more red. But not enough to make it stand out. The Cameronbidge nice, but I like an inoffensive grain whiskey, so I think that's a little bit too robust almost for me. I am going to have another sip of the Singleton, the Oban and the Mortlach, I think. Just getting to know them again. Singleton now feels a bit waxy on the finish actually. And I'm going to have a water. And the Oban. I really like that Oban. It's just so interesting. When I'm editing this, if I can think of the character I'm thinking of, I will pin it in the comments, but I can't promise that I'll think of it. But I'm going to retry it when I'm editing this. So note to Moa and the Mortlach. I think Mortlach has the most layers. I like all of them, but the Oban is the most interesting. So they're gonna have to be my two favorites. Like Mortlach is like after dinner whiskey, sit in your armchair. We have a rocking chair, sit in your rocking chair. Maybe have it out of a tumbler as well. Yeah, but the Oban is fascinating. That's my thoughts on the 2022 special releases from Diageo. If you've made it to the end, well done. I know it's a long one. I'm going to try to date stamp them as well, which you would have seen by now if I have done it. So please, well, be good and do it. But yes, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know if you have managed to try any of them. Did you like it? Did you agree with my tasting notes? If you have more elaborate tasting notes, please put them in the comments, because I know this was quite a quick one to run through. And I hope you'll stay along and maybe subscribe if you haven't already, and like this video if you liked it. And I hope to see you in the next one. I might cheers you with my water glass because that's what I need right now. I'll see you in the next one. I hope you have a lovely day. Sláinte Skål.